I'll start the recording. It says my internet is not stable. I think it's fine. So we've talked about in the previous class, we talked about variable and we talked about casting. And yesterday I showed you different legal ways and illegal ways of writing variables. Because sometimes when you want to write variable, you need to make sure you're writing the variable in a way in which it's been written. Because if you write the variable in the wrong way, the problem is you would have problems. You have it's gonna yell at you. So you can have we call them bugs in programming language. We call them bugs. So you have bug in your code. So, but alhamdulillah, when we write all the code today, they can easily tell us what the problem is. Gone are those days when people write programs and they just have bugs in the program is not running properly, and there is no indication that tells them what the problem is. So this is something very unique today that we can easily read the error message and know what the meaning, what the problem is. So, so we talked about this illegal way. You a variable name must never start with a number. A variable name must never have some of the keywords or the key function words in Python, like minus. I used an example yesterday. I used length. And a variable name must never have a space in between the letters. If you put a space in between the letters, you would have an error message. So what do we mean by all of these things? The meaning is we want to make sure that you write the right thing. You correct the correct thing so that you can have the correct response and the correct result. So this is why we're saying all of these things, bismillah. So now we're gonna proceed to the next level. So in the next level, it says we have what we call multi-word variable names. And I think I showed you this yesterday. I showed you yesterday, like you can have different ways of writing it. You can have a camel case. The camel case is you would start with a small letter. So, but all the keywords is going to be capital letter. So you start with a key let with a sorry. I'm trying to call the others. So you will start with a key letter, and after that, then you will start with small letter, then the other ones will be capital case, uppercase. For example, you have my variable name, my variable, and yesterday someone said this is the best, this is his own best way, and another person said this is his own best way. So you can decide to choose any of your ways, it's fine. So you can decide to choose any of your ways. There is no problem with it. It's okay. So now, among the things we need to also understand is in Python, variables in Python, we can use it to assign multiple values. So we can assign multiple values. So Python allows you to assign values to multiple variables in one line. What does this mean? The meaning is instead of saying X is equals to orange, Y equals to banana, cherry, Z is equals to cherry, we can have all of these three things together with different variables separated with a comma, and we're gonna have the names of every the names, different names you want to have in the quotation. So like when you do this, so when you do this, what you would notice is so if you say print X, it's gonna print orange. If you say print Y, it's gonna print banana. If you say print Z, it's gonna print you cherry. So make sure the number of variables matches the number of values, or else you get an error message. What does that mean? The meaning is, let's say for example, you've got X, Y, Z, or you have M, X, Y, Z. Then you said is equals to orange, banana, and cherry. You're gonna have an error message. Why? because the variable number is not the name of the number of values. So let's jump quickly to Replit and see how it works in Replit. Let's see how it works in Replit quickly. Just give me a moment. I always like us to keep the timing in mind. So this is a very good way to. So now what was I saying is this. Let's say we have a variable m, say m, comma, n, comma, o is equals to Umar, comma, Shuaib. So let's say you have these let's say you have these so let's say you have these words like this. So you have m, n, and o. So you can say print, you can say print m. You say print m, what is most likely that you will get? Now we're having an error message. We're having an error here. Why are we having an error? Someone tell me.
We did not put a quotation mark.
We did not put quotation mark. We don't really need to put quotation mark because we already declared as a variable.
Okay.
So we don't really need to put a quotation mark. So
there is space
between
print and.
No, that it doesn't matter. I was just trying to see if you could see there's a problem, but there's no problem. The problem is not actually here. I was trying to make you feel there's a problem. So this is exactly what if you put a quotation in M, so what you will print, what it's going to print is M. I mentioned this before that if you've already declared a letter as a variable, which is already given a value, so you don't need to put a quotation anymore. If you put a quotation, it's just going to print you M. It's never going to print you what? The name. Is that understood? So all of these things, I want you to really understand it. So if you say print, move the quotation and say print M, print N. So even if you have a space between the print and the letter, doesn't mean anything. Though it's not good, does not make your code look clean and neat, but it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Try to mute yourself, everybody. Try to mute yourself. Mute yourself, please, everybody. Okay. So, and if you say print O, it's gonna respond to you without having any problems. So you can see it prints very well. So it doesn't really need to let the letters. Can we mute the mic, please? Assalamu alaikum. Nuruddin, can you mute your mic, please? Sharif, can you also mute your mic? Please mute your mic. Thank you very much. Okay, as I was saying, so this is exactly what I was talking about. So we can have multi variables. You can have names pulled like this. So you can also have several fruits, several cars put in this way. So once you say print, it's going to print all of it for you. So this is one thing. And I was trying to make you understand something the other time. Now, let's say, for example, I've got three variables, and I'm given another value. I'm giving it Musa. I'm giving another value, Musa. So if I run this, what do you think it's going to do? It's going to yell. It's going to yell at me, telling me the number of variables. So let's read. Now, let me show you how to read error message. Now, the error message you see, it says trace back. It says trace back. Go back to what you just did. Most recent call last. So file home runner variable slash main.py. So where did you have the problem? You got the problem in main.py because I named this code we're writing main.py. So, and it's telling you that in line 79, can you see? In the module, MNO is equals to Umar Shoaib Ahmed Musa. So value error. What is the error? It says too many values to unpack expected 3. So you can imagine it's going to tell you what the problem is. And if you're very good at understanding the meaning of the language of program or the language of the computer, you will be able to know what the problem is. So it's telling you now that you've got too many values to unpack. So you have too many values. So the values you gave to this is more than what the variables you declared. You declared 3 variables, and you had 4 values. So if you know programming properly, it's either you add one more value, to it, or you remove one more value from here. Is understood? So now you've added one more value. If you run it, you should not have a problem. You should not have a problem. Now it's fine. So this is exactly how Python usually work. If you work in a clinic, and you want to put people's file into variables, let me show you how to do it. Let's say, for example, someone's name is Adi. Someone's name is Adi, right? His age is 45. His blood pressure, let's say BP. I think I did something like this before, right? BP 6 is equals to 149. BP die. BP die is equals to 70. So sugar level is equals to 1. What other things, Dr. Shoaib, what other things do you take from patients? Height.
Sex.
Sex.
Height.
Height. Let's say 170 centimeters. What else? Sex, gender. It's a gender. F. Or you can code the gender 0 and 1, or 1 and 2. So 0 mean female and 1 mean male. So I would explain this to you when I mean sugar level 1. So we usually have a threshold. If the sugar level is above a threshold, we'll say 1. If the sugar level is below a threshold, we'll say 0. And if we can put the threshold to be 50. So we can use threshold of 50. So if it's above 50, we'll say is 1. If it's below 50, we'll say is 0. So it's fine. If it's 0, it's fine. If it's 1, then there's a problem. It's getting too high. So now these are some of the data we get from patients. when they go to the clinic. And sometimes we said, okay, we also measure the temperature. We make the temp, we can say temp is equals to 29. So then what else again? I think we've done enough. It can also have age, gender. So we can also have a history. Do they have a history of hypertension? You can write that as hyper underscore his. Dr. Shib will have to pay extra money for this. Hyper X 0. So if they don't have a hypertension history, it's 0. But if they have an hypertension history in the family, you put 1. So I'm showing you how you can design a data for your patients. So now this is a very beautiful data. So if you want, you can now put all this data into someone's name. You can pull this data into someone's name by just putting a bracket, and you can say, instead of, you can say patient ID, patient ID. So the patient, you can say patient ID 50. You can say 50 or ID 01001. But remember, you cannot have a variable like this. So you just say patient 1. Patient 1 equals 2. So all of this you've done here, all of this you've done here, is going to be equal to patient 1. Do you understand what I'm saying? So anytime you want to call any of this, you can actually call that from patient 1. So in fact, we'll get to that level now where we'll talk about set and list and all this stuff. Then you will see how powerful Python is. So this is an example of how you can. Now, if you decide to print anything, you want to print the patient's height. You want to print height. You want to print height. It may not work because I already put it into another. Yeah, it's going to throw an error. I already closed it up. So it's been closed up already. So patients, so it's being closed up. So I don't want to jump the A level. So I will teach you how to get a data from we call this one, is called an indented it's called a how do we call it in programming? It's called where you put a data inside another data. You put variables inside the variable. It's called nested variable. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we call this in programming, called a nested variable. So if you have a nested variable, there is a special way to call this variable inside a nested variable, but I will show you later. Is that understood? So in this case, it's not going to work. So I'm just trying to show you how to develop a data. So when we get to how to deal with nested variable, then I will show you how to do it. Some of you might be able to guess how to get the data. Maybe anyone can guess here. Can anyone guess how we can get the data for age, data for BP and everything? Does anyone know?
We should put on between the black bracket and I think that two commas at the top.
We should put what?
I think it should be between the brackets. Then we run.
Yeah, you tried actually. You tried. So since it's a nested variable, we should also nest what we're printing. We should say print patient 1 into angle bracket height. You understand? So, but I don't want to get you, that is a high level. We'll get there, inshallah. So I don't want to get you confused so that we don't say, we're not coordinated anymore. Barakallahu fikum. So I showed this is how we make data. So this is how you can make a lot of data for patients. And this is exactly what you do when they hire you in a clinic as a front end and back end developer, or as someone who is a record administrator or whatever. So this is exactly what you do behind the scene. So you just do this, you enter everything. So a patient, if you enter the patient's number, if it doesn't have any record, that means you've not entered this record into the database before. So this is the first step you go through. So once you do this for the first time, you save it. Anytime you come, you enter the person's ID number, then it's going to bring out all the data. So if you want to get something about height, is BP, wherever, you don't need to look at all the data, because sometimes some people have data which is so many. He's got like 40 things about him. How are you going to be looking for everything? So what you just have to do, just type the person's name and put into bracket and select exactly what you need from the person. So inshallah, we will get there. So this is one of the beauty of Python programming. And bi'idhnillah, everyone is going to be confident about using Python by the time we're done with this class, bi'idhnillah. So this is exactly what I was trying to make for you. So, and you can assign the same value to multiple variables. You can assign the same value to multiple variables. For example, you can assign orange to X, Y, and Z. That's fine. There's no problem. So if you assign, you will not use a comma. Remember, the other one, we use a comma to separate it. So that was the reason it was yelling at us, saying, you've got 3 variables and you have 4 values. So but now, in this case, you will say X is equals to Y is equals to Z. So if X is equals to Y equals to Z equals to orange, the meaning is X is orange, Y is orange, Z is orange. So we usually do this in programming language. There's no problem with it. So if you say print X, it's going to print orange. Print Y is going to print orange. Print Z is going to print orange as well. All right. So let's now unpack a collection. Let's now unpack a collection. Let's say we want to unpack a collection here. Now, if you have a collection of values in a list, now or tuple, now they're trying to say the things that they want to say. And we'll call something list, we'll call something tuple. So we will talk about them, inshallah, in the next class. So Python allows you to extract the values into variables. So this is called unpack it. Example, unpack a list. So now this is a list here, fruits. Fruit is got apple, banana, cherry. So we can have multiple fruits. We can have more than 1,000 fruits in the same, in a list. So we call this a list. A list is a set of values that has a variable name, and it's been put in an angle bracket. So we use this to know this is a list, this bracket to say. So this is what we use to know it's a list. So this bracket shows you that it's a list. Let me show you this. This one. So there is another way to write that for a set. There is another way to write that for a dictionary. So there are different ways of writing them that when you see them, you would be able to differentiate if it's a list, if it's a set, if it's a dictionary. So we will talk about all of these things. Just relax. So now we want to talk about unpacking. So we want to unpack a list. So how do? You say X, Y, and Z is equals to fruits. So you already said what? The fruits were given, all of the apple, banana, cherry is given a variable called fruits. So you want to unpack them and give each of these fruits its own variable. That's what we call unpacking. It says, if you have a collection of values in a list, tuple, it is, for example, Python allows you to extract the values into variables. So instead of you saying X is equals to apple, Y banana, Z, let's say, for example, you have 1,000 fruits, different fruits in the fruit. All you just have to do, just count it. Just use a counter, just highlight all of it and know the number of fruits you have. Once you know the number of fruits, generate that same number of variables. Just generate that same number of variables. You generate, for example, if you have 200 fruits, generate 200 variables. And once you generate 200 variables, what would happen? You would see that it's going to give every fruit the variable you generated to it, even though you did not directly give it the value. Let me show you what I'm saying here. Let's go to the just give me a moment. So let me copy this because we don't have time instead of typing everything again. So let me copy all of this and try if it's put in the replicate. So now take a look at what I was saying here. I will keep all of this, I'll keep it. So I would, inshallah, we'll use it when we start to talk about lists and all the stuff. So I'm always trying my best to make sure I make it simple. So let's try. If you have any question, feel free to ask. So now take a look here. You've got fruits. So this is fruit for you. Then you have X, Y, and Z. Is it print X, print Y, and print Z. I was only being lazy. I don't want to type because no time. So now I've done it properly. So you would see the magic of programming. What it's going to do for you would shock you. My internet is a bit slow today. I don't know what is wrong. So it's throwing an error here. It says there is a problem somewhere. So okay, you said fruits is equals to apple, banana, cherry. X, Y, and Z equals to fruits. Invalid non-printable character. Okay. All right. Now let's see. Okay, let's flip it and see if it's gonna work that way. Now it's complaining that there is a character which is not printable. So we already had the variable which is fruits is equals to this. Okay, let's do this first and see if there is a problem with the way it's been written. Let's print fruits first. So let's print fruits first and see if if it's gonna work fine. My internet is really slow. Okay, it's not. So the problem is even with there are some characters hidden inside. You know, there's just something about copying things sometimes in programming. So
I think the error.
Yeah, there is a sometimes when you copy and paste.
There is error at X, Y, Z is equal to fruit. We're supposed to put a quotation mark because fruit is a string.
Yeah, but I told you, if you remember, that once you've declared it as a variable, there's no need anymore.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So once you're already declared as a variable, you don't have to worry yourself. So what I'm thinking problem is like you can see now is sub. So this is something I need to make you understand. When you copy and paste code from one place to another place, in most cases, there are things hidden inside this copy paste, which you don't see. You understand what I'm saying? So you don't see those things. You can see he said there's something here is invalid non-printable character is hidden here. You understand what I'm saying? So it's telling you there's something hidden here which you don't see, but the computer can see it. So now you can see I tabbed it by myself. I removed those things, and now it worked. You understand what I'm saying now? So now I will remove this. So as I was saying to you, you don't need to put the fruits into quotation because you've already declared it as a variable. If you put the fruits into quotation, it's just going to see it as a string, not going to see it as a variable. Let me explain this to you very well. There is a difference between a variable and a string. If you've not declared a string as a variable, it's a string at that point in time. But once you've declared it as a variable and you've given it some values, then it's no more a string, it's a variable. You understand what I'm saying now? So you don't need to put a quotation around it anymore. So I already said this to you. I'm going to repeat it again. So now that I've done the second stage is I've declared X, Y, and Z as well as fruits. Now I want to print X. I want to print X now. So my internet is very slow. Can you see now? I print my X. It printed what? Let me remove these. Let me remove this. Let me remove these things. So I would now I run it again. So it's going to print what is printing apple. So I want to print the Y, and I will print Z. So I don't really have time. I will have relaunched the update here. It's saying there's an update. So maybe that's why it's running really slow. So the point is now going to print apple, banana, and cherry, even though you did not even declare directly. So you see what I did all the time? What I did all the time? That I did this, all of this I did, yeah. I can assign values to all of this number, even without saying age is equal to 45. So I will just say patient 1. I'll just say ID 45, 149, 70. Once I say that, I will just assign a value.